What's up, everybody? Hello, happy Monday. Hope you guys are warm and cozy and not in Nashville where people are out of power and setting up tents in their living room so that they can trap the warmth while they go to sleep. Wild stuff. I didn't even know that that was a thing. But we're going to talk about it today. We're talking about all kinds of stuff. We're about to shoot the cold open for the show. So in just a second, you'll see that. If this is your first time watching, you're going to be like, what's going on? We'll explain it right after this. Hold on. Hey guys, it's Scotty Schwartz, and tonight in Minnesota, word now that the head of Border Patrol could be pulling out after outcry over the latest shooting death during an immigration operation. What the president is saying about his conversation with the governor of Minnesota that could signal, could signal a shift in tone. Could signal a shift in tone. All right, take two. Hey, Lise, nice hat. Yeah, it looks very cold. Yeah, of course you did. I want one too. 4, 3. Hey guys, it's Scotty Schwartz, and tonight in Minnesota, word now that the head of Border Patrol could be pulling out after outcry over the latest shooting death during an immigration operation. What the president is saying about his conversation with the governor of Minnesota that could signal a shift in tone. Meanwhile, there is more scrutiny tonight over what kind of training federal agents are getting and what the current guidelines are over the use of deadly force. We're going to talk about that with an expert. And the first winter storm of the year, it was a big one. It was also deadly. The worst weather may not be over. And the former Olympian turned alleged kingpin pleads not guilty to drug and murder charges. And also, is TikTok censoring anti-ICE content? Well, there's a growing chorus of users saying yes, but the company is blaming technical issues on a power outage. And in the future of everything, we are taking a look at a robot that is teaching itself how to lip sync. Why, that is a huge step forward in the world of AI.
Hello. I am Emo, a robot designed to simulate emotions and interact with humans in a more natural way.
All right. Okay. I think that works. We should have done some yellow card underneath that emo robot. Ryan, do you even know who yellow card is? Probably not.
No.
Oh, man. Oh, Lisa, we're old. Yellow card.
They're babies.
Something corporate.
Put 25 in
Boxcar Racer. Blink 182?
Okay,
Blink
Okay,
182.
all right.
Cool. All right. God, awesome. We've got progress.
But they're
Yeah, Ryan is, Ryan is the cool kid around here. He's like, he's like the Ryan from The Office. So let's see. I like your beanie, Lisa. Reed, I love her beanie too, and I'm wondering why I don't have one. She's
I informed
toys, but
Gotti before the show started that I made this. And it is that cold here that we need it all the time.
Sell it on Etsy. Sell a Stay Tuned one. Let's see. Kevin, yes, very cold. Rise Hamilton, 1506. Could be cold in New Mexico. Oh, what part of New Mexico? If I still lived in
robot
Santa Fe, I'd
designed
be
to
skinning
simulate
up to the
emotions
top
and interact
tonight
with humans
and
in a
just
more natural
bombing
way.
down. Hello, Kate. Hello, Reed. Hello, Max. We got a bunch of stuff coming up. Did you see the cold open? If you didn't, we're going to start with what's happening in Minnesota. There seems to be somewhat of a shift in tone from the Trump administration. Bovino looks like he is pulling out of Minnesota as early as tomorrow. Other federal troops, at least Border Patrol officers, may be pulled out as well, but Tom Holman is going in. So it looks like DHS is going to continue those operations. The president talking to the mayor and the governor, and it seems like those conversations with the Trump administration are going to continue. And the president said on Truth Social that, like, maybe they're close to the same wavelength on what needs to happen there. So what that means, we're going to dive into it with a bunch of experts. Let's see. Cover silver price? Dude, silver and gold are going crazy. My daughter has like a $10 silver piece that she always loses, and I'm like, this is gonna be worth money. I need to check to see how much it's actually worth now. Elisa, can you give us a control room tour? I don't know. I don't think she can swivel that camera. Ooh, Trump said 355. Hello, I am Gotti, a pawn in the MSM game. I mean, you got me. Like, this is totally mainstream media. I'm like if I could tattoo mainstream on my arm, I probably would. I'm a big believer in making sure that there is a huge buffet of media, and I do think that mainstream is a very important part of that. Like, I think you should get perspectives from all different sides, and then I think somewhere you got to have a perspective that's like, this is what they're saying, this is what they're saying, think what you want to think,
So,
which is what we're hoping to do here, which is why
I think you need to mute me.
Our comment section. All right, I'll mute you right now.
Okay.
Wait, so it's not working? Yeah, because I can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, you can hear me when I talk to you through here, in your ear.
Does this
I don't
go
know if I
in
can
the
mute you.
wall now?
Oh, but I can mute you this way. Got it. I know what you're talking about. There we go. Lisa's loud but cool. Story of my life. Okay. One minute until the show starts, and then it's going to be the cold open that you just saw us pre-tape. We're going to edit in all the stuff there, and then we're going to be off to the races. And so the first story that we're going to tackle is Minnesota, and we're going to spend quite a few beats on that, just drilling down on everything that we're seeing from the shift in tone to what this means going forward. We've got Misty Maris telling us what things mean legally. Jim Kavanaugh is going to give us a law enforcement perspective, and we've got another law enforcement expert that's going to be coming up a little bit later in the show. Let's see. There's no new mug. It's this one. Sorry. All right, 15 seconds. Everybody have a wonderful show. I can't wait to see what you guys are saying here in the comment section. We will be reading along as we do, and then as soon as the next commercial break comes up, let's chat. So if I don't see your comment, tell me that. Hey guys, it's Scotty Schwartz, and tonight in Minnesota, word now that the head of Border Patrol could be pulling out after outcry over the latest shooting death during an immigration operation. What the president is saying about his conversation with the governor of Minnesota that could signal a shift in tone. Meanwhile, there is more scrutiny tonight over what kind of training federal agents are getting and what the current guidelines are over the full use of deadly force. We're going to talk about that with an expert. And the first winter storm of the year, it was a big one. It was also deadly. The worst weather may not be over. And the former Olympian turned alleged kingpin pleads not guilty to drug and murder charges. And also, is TikTok censoring anti-ICE content? Well, there's a growing chorus of users saying yes, but the company is blaming technical issues on a power outage. And in the future of everything, we are taking a look at a robot that is teaching itself how to lip sync. Why that is a huge step forward in the world of AI.
Hello. I am Emo, a robot designed to simulate emotions and interact with humans in a more natural way.
Tonight, as the protests grow over the most recent deadly Border Patrol shooting in Minnesota, word that Border Patrol's commander could be pulled out of the state as early as tomorrow. There are also plans to possibly reduce the number of agents in Minnesota sometime this week. Multiple sources are telling NBC News that Border Patrol Commander Greg Bovino is expected to leave tomorrow. We've also learned that there are some more angles from body cam footage that is being reviewed of that shooting, in addition to the multiple angles that we have seen of that moment when Border Patrol opened fire on 37-year-old Alex Preddy. Now, 2 days after the shooting, officials still have not said how many times he was struck. Meanwhile, the way DHS has characterized that shooting has been shifting as more and more videos that seem to refute some of their early statements have come to light. Today, the Trump announcing that his border czar, Tom Homan, is now being sent to Minneapolis to oversee immigration crackdowns there, and the fraud investigation that is also going on. We also learned that the president and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, apparently they talked on the phone about reducing the number of federal agents in Minnesota, all while a federal judge is currently hearing arguments on whether to order a halt to Trump's operation in that state altogether. There's a lot of developments tonight as some Minnesotans are still processing what's been happening in their community.
I live 3 blocks from here. This is literally like, I heard the gunshots from my place yesterday morning. Like, it's just insane. Like, this is insane. The fact that this is what our life is now in 2026.
I think people have to understand that it's not just anybody. It could have been you, it could have been me, it could have been anybody. They're not really respecting anybody, and it's frustrating.
He wasn't even moving, and they still emptied like another clip into him. Like, how is that even? Like, how can anybody ever look at that and say that that isn't just outright murder? From any angle, all the angles.
Now, we've got a whole team on this story tonight. We're going to get to Gabe Gutierrez at the White House and our legal and law enforcement panel in just a bit. But first, let's go to Camila Bernal on the ground in Minneapolis. And NBC's Camila Bernal joins us from Minneapolis tonight, a very cold Minneapolis. It still seems like there are so many people out there. Camila, obviously everything is very up in the air, but what's the reaction out there to Commander Bovino possibly being pulled out of Minneapolis as soon as tomorrow?
Hey, Gotti, I think it's obviously not hard or not stretching it to say that people are pleased and happy to hear this, because anytime I spoke to anyone here, they would tell me that what they wanted was to have federal agents out of this city. So the question here is how many are actually going to leave? Normally you have, 80 ICE agents in Minneapolis. You now have 4,000 of them. And so the message from many in the community and even from the mayor of Minneapolis is that he wanted them all out of the city. And he said he told that to the president, the mayor saying he told that to the president, and they are going to sit together and have a conversation, the mayor and the border czar, Tom Homan, tomorrow. And so the president even describing it as progress. So I think even people who wanted to see federal agents here, like maybe the administration, are saying that this is progress. And so in a way, it's something that we hadn't seen before, but it looks like cooperation, Gotti.
Yeah. I mean, when we're talking about those conversations that Trump has had now with the governor and with Mayor Fry, there's what they're saying, and then there's what the community behind you has been articulating from the front lines of those protests. Protesters, are they okay with, the president and the mayor and the governor seeming to make headway here? Because for so long we've heard protesters seeming to be pretty uncompromising in their demands.
Yeah, but look, I think one of the things that is really important to point out is that the things that would get these protesters really riled up would be seeing those federal agents. So, for example, I was here on Saturday when these federal agents were trying to block the scene, and that's when it would become chaotic, because a lot of the protesters would go right up to these federal agents and start yelling at them and screaming and saying, things like "shame on you," and that's when you would start to see the pepper spray and just the absolute chaos. chaos. Otherwise, we've seen protests that are mostly calm. And so I think when you take out the federal agents out of the equation, you likely will continue to see things continue to get calm here.
What else are we learning about Alex Preddy today?
Look, one of the things that his parents really wanted was for him to be remembered as the kind-hearted person that he was, the nurse, the person that wanted to serve others. When you look here at this memorial, there are so many signs, and there's one that even says, "Nurses save lives, ICE does not." And so I think one of the most important things for a lot of the members of this community is for him to be remembered as that nurse, as someone who cared and someone who really cared about this community body.
And finally, this federal judge hearing, like what could we see here and how soon could we see a decision?
So there are two federal court cases here, Gotti. One is where the government essentially is being asked to leave. The state of Minnesota asking a judge to intervene and to essentially get these federal agents out of the city. If we actually see them out of this city, then essentially you don't need a judge to rule on that. The other case here is in terms of preserving the evidence in this case. A judge has not ruled on that yet, but the state really asking the judge to intervene and to tell the federal government to preserve all the evidence in this case so that they too can investigate. Gotti.
Camila Bernal in Minneapolis for us. Camila, thank you. And as we said before, DHS has characterized the shooting differently throughout the last couple of days as more videos seem to refute some of their early statements that have come to light. Let's take a listen.
During this operation, an individual approached U.S. Border Patrol agents with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. The agents attempted to disarm the individual, but he violently resisted. Fearing for his life and the lives and safety of fellow officers, a Border Patrol agent fired defensive shots.
Medics were on the scene immediately and attempted to deliver medical aid to the subject, but he was pronounced dead at the scene. The suspect also had 2 magazines with ammunition in them that held dozens of rounds. He also had no ID. This looks like a situation where an individual arrived at the scene to inflict maximum damage on individuals and to kill law enforcement.
Did the officers see the weapon? Did they see him brandishing the weapon at him?
Sure. Many videos out there, many different accounts that you may see, that I may see, that anybody here may see. That, folks, is why we have something called an investigation, to take what you're talking about, to take those videos, to take witness statements, to take officer statements, all those minute details that will paint a true picture, not a freeze frame concept, and paint a larger picture of what really happened. That is why we investigate, so we can get to the truth, so there's not speculation.
Let's bring in our panel. Misty Maris, NBC News legal analyst, and Jim Cavanaugh, NBC News law enforcement analyst. Jim, first off, you know, there have been several days of freeze frame analysis from several different vantage points showing that Preddy did not have a gun in his hand, and instead it was a cell phone in his hand, and it looked like a gun was in a holster when the law enforcement approached him, right? I do want to get your expert opinion here. When you're watching this video, what are you seeing here?
Well, you know, there's an old police saying we had, Gotti. It was, if there's you have trouble getting the information, there's trouble with the information. And I think the videos are telling the truth to the eyewitnesses here, which is America. And if you watch Mr. Preddy here, we don't know what he did prior, of course, but he's not violently resisting. And I think that's a point that needs to be taken here. He's accused of being violently resisting. And I've arrested people for violently resisting, and with weapons and shooting and fighting, and also arrested many who passively resist, or we call resisting without violence. So he's not punching, kicking, striking, attacking them with a weapon. That's not present. So he's not violently resisting them. He holds up his hand, he's pepper sprayed, and then he's brought down to his knees. And his hands, from the two different angles, if you watch it, Gotti, over and over, are in front of him. They're on the tarmac in front of him. And one of the agents comes around in a gray jacket. That's a key person who comes around, and he reaches around to the back of Mr. Pretty's waistband, and he pulls a pistol, which we now know is a 9mm Sig-Sauer pistol with a holographic sight. He pulls that out, and he turns to walk away, and then there's 4 shots and about 6 more shots after Mr. Pretty's prone face up on the sidewalk.
And when it comes to disarming somebody that is carrying, legally carrying, what is the protocol?
Well, you know, the protocol is correct when one of the agents yells gun, 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 and that's so every member of the involved in the act of arrest knows that the person you're arresting is armed. But that's not a reason or justification to shoot. Carrying a firearm, you have a permit, you have a legal right. The Second Amendment is sacrosanct in our country. You can have the gun. That is not a reason to shoot. It's a reason to be more alert. It's a reason to have concern. And one of the agents secured the gun. Now, A+ police work, the agent who secured the gun would say, gun secured, gun secured. Now, a person can have multiple weapons, we all know that, but it was told gun, 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 and gun is secured. Okay, well, maybe the gun's out of the picture. I think one question has to be answered is, was there an accidental discharge by the person who took the gun? Some believe that happened. I've watched that over and over. I can't see the smoke from the barrel. I can't see the slide going back. I don't see it. Maybe it's in there. And if that happened, maybe there was contagion fire. And the investigation should be able to tell that pretty simply. Even a close examination of the available videos, because when the first shot is fired, clearly the man in the gray jacket, the agent, the gun is visible to Gotti. I don't see it, but you know, it needs to be examined.
Yeah, and hopefully that'll be something that is settled when the body cam video of some of those officers that we now know exists is reviewed. Misty, switching over to the legal side of things, let's listen quickly to DHS Secretary Kristi Noem from Saturday.
When you perpetuate violence against a government because of ideological reasons and for reasons to resist and perpetuate violence, that is the definition of domestic terrorism. This individual who came with weapons and ammunition to stop a law enforcement operation of federal law enforcement officers committed an act of domestic terrorism.
And similarly, Stephen Miller, he called him an assassin on X. Legally here, what are the ramifications of statements like that from such high levels of the administration, Misty?
The most immediate ramification is a real big question mark as far as the veracity of any investigation, because what it seems to be is conclusion first and investigate later, which is the opposite of what you would generally see in a case like this. You're talking about an investigation that would usually take weeks, if not months, but with making these statements where it seems to be determinations of fact have already been made before conducting that investigation, there becomes a lot of question marks about whether or not it is being done thoroughly, properly, and most important, independently.
And Misty, I know the AG is taking this to court. There's a federal court now involved. What could we see from a federal judge here, and will that hold weight in Minnesota?
So there's 2 different hearings that took place today relating to issues before the federal court. One specifically, Gotti, relates to this issue of preservation of evidence. So the Attorney General and other prosecutorial agencies in Minnesota asked a judge for a temporary restraining order, meaning that the government, the DOJ, has to immediately preserve all evidence, cannot destroy or manipulate that. Arguments were heard on that today, and what was pointed out in court by Minnesota was deviations from typical protocols, including those public statements. The judge is yet to rule on that issue, but we'll be likely seeing a decision coming soon.
And Jim, real fast, circling back to what you were saying about the gun, and again, I know that this is speculation online, but just staying with some of that vein, if it does appear as though this gun misfired or there was some sort of fire and then there was contagion shooting, Does that change the course of the investigation?
No, really, you're not supposed to just shoot because you hear a gunshot. What can change is the agent who fired can say, you know, I perceived a threat because I heard a gunshot. I first heard gun, 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 then I heard a gunshot, and so I perceived a high-level threat. The problem with all that scenario is the medical examiner professional that the Washington Post interviewed and published said he saw 4 holes in Mr. Preddy's back. And on the video, the agent who's firing first is behind him, and he shoots. There's a shot, and then there's 3 more shots. Now, are all those 4 shots from his gun? That's going to be easy to determine. And are all those 4 bullets from him? Or is there an accidental discharge on the street from this weapon? It's a single action, 1911 style model 6-hour pistol. All those pistols, you know, they're single action. If a round's carried in the chamber, there's no safety on or something, it could easily discharge if you touch the trigger. Of course, all those semi-automatic single actions can be like that. But often citizens will carry them with no round in the chamber. But that's an easily discernifiable fact. Let me just close with this, Gotti. I think DHS has lost the public writ large because they made statements that don't coincide with the multiple videos that are out there. And when you lose that, you got to try to get that back. And they should get it back for their agents. So this is a truthful, objective investigation. And the only way to get that back is to include the BCA in the investigation and another federal agency, not in Homeland Security. So it could be a Justice Department agency like FBI and BCA, because you've lost credibility by making statements that don't look like what people are looking at. And that hurts you. So you want to get that credibility back as the department, as ICE, as Customs, Border Patrol, and you want to stand by your people, of course, but you want the facts to rule. Let's have objective facts so that prosecutors can make, you know, cogent, objective decisions in what should happen going forward.
Jim, there's the credibility aspect, and then there's the whole debate right now about constitutional rights and the First Amendment and the Second Amendment. Second Amendment is something that the Trump administration has argued strongly for. I mean, Misty, legally we see these things coming into play in the public discourse, but where do they come into the legal world?
So this is the other hearing we actually had today, Gotti, which relates to Minnesota, the state and local government, saying that they want ICE out. Now, the federal government says that under the Second Amendment, the president, the executive branch, has the constitutional authority to execute federal law enforcement actions. And so a court should not have anything to say about it, and the states do not have any power to tell the federal government how to do that. Now, the argument that that Minnesota has raised is that this is actually to coerce them into the federal government's agenda. So that is another issue that's currently before the court.
Misty Maris and Jim Kavanaugh, really appreciate your guys' expertise. Thank you so much. And turning now to the White House, where NBC's senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez is standing by for us. Gabe, can you talk to us about the messaging here and the shift of tone and how Compares to the shooting of Renee Good that we saw earlier this month?
Well, Gotti, I have to tell you, it has been a dramatic change in tone really throughout the day. We woke up to the news that President Trump was asking his border czar, Tom Homan, to head to Minnesota. And this came after his administration officials over the weekend had said some pretty provocative statements about what had happened here and who was to blame for the Preddy shooting. Some administration officials, including Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, had called Preddy a, quote, would-be assassin. The Department of Homeland Security had put out a post saying that he had wanted to massacre law enforcement, that Kristi Noem essentially called him a domestic terrorist. Well, earlier today, I asked White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt why administration officials had seemingly jumped to conclusions before an investigation had even been conducted. Here's what she said.
Well, look, this has obviously been a situation throughout the weekend. As for President Trump, whom I speak for, he has said that he wants to let the investigation continue and let the facts lead in this case.
Gotti, very critical that you pay attention to those words. She said, President Trump, whom I speak for. In other words, she was suggesting that she didn't speak for Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller or any other members of the administration. She wanted the press to know what President Trump wanted, and he's calling for an investigation. I took that to be that she was distancing the president from some of those earlier comments from other administration officials, including Stephen Miller, including Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, and Border Patrol Commander Bovino.
Interesting. Yeah. Meanwhile, on Truth Social, Trump says that he's got this, at least he had a very good phone call with Governor Tim Walz. He also reiterated that he's sending Homan to Minnesota. Is this a de-escalation?
Well, Gotti, look at that right there, that Truth Social post right there, the one right before that you saw on your screen. He said, the president did, that he and Governor Tim Walz seem to be on a similar wavelength. Gotti, when could you have ever imagined the president say that he was in a similar wavelength with the Democratic governor of Minnesota, the vice presidential candidate, Tim Walz? He said it was a very productive call. Also, we heard that he did have another phone call with Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, who says that the president agreed that the present situation cannot continue. So certainly some de-escalation there on the part of both sides, really.
And Gabe, reading between the lines, I mean, what does this say about where Bovino or Noem might stand right now with the administration?
Well, look, according to two administration officials, we now know that Bovino is expected to leave Minneapolis tomorrow. Very significant. We did hear, though, from Caroline Leavitt, though, who said Kristi Noem still enjoys the trust of the President of the United States. A lot of questions moving forward, though, about the federal leadership in Minnesota, Gotti.
Yeah, a lot to watch for there. Gabe Gutierrez at the White House, thank you. And now to the aftermath of that massive winter storm that left entire cities buried under snow and ice. Right now, the storm is finally moving out, but the danger is not, with bitter and potentially record-breaking cold about to settle in for days, just as tens of thousands across the South are still without power right now. Aaron McLaughlin is leading our storm coverage tonight with yet another freezing night ahead.
Tonight, as the monster storm moves out, the deep freeze settles in. Frigid temperatures, blankets of ice, and feet of snow still gripping a huge portion of the country. At least 20 people have died so far, including elementary school teacher Rebecca Ruber. Police in Kansas say the 28-year-old froze to death.
Her smile, it was so vibrant. That's what I'm going to miss the most.
First responders are still working around the clock to keep up with collisions and spinouts. Even emergency vehicles are having trouble getting around. This semi slid off the road in Tennessee, shutting down the highway. And in the Midwest, where it's been single digits or lower since Friday, stranded cars litter the roads. The extraordinary storm created this in New York City, where even the rivers are freezing over, with record snowfall in several states, including here in Massachusetts.
It's crazy. Oh my God, I live in here for 90 years, but I never see something like this.
I've been out here for a few hours.
It's a long time to be shoveling snow.
My face feels frozen right now.
160 million Americans remain under cold alerts, including many down south, where hundreds of thousands of households are still without power. George Solis is in Nashville, where temperatures are expected to plummet again tonight.
While some without power have evacuated, some families like the Claiborne have decided to camp out in their home to stay warm.
We've set up our tent in our living room. We have a small indoor propane heater that will go for 5 hours or so. We've covered all the windows, and you can see we've covered the doors between the draftier parts of the house and this one, and we're just keeping a few rooms warm at a time.
Mississippi resident Jane Hubbard also has no power. She heard a giant oak tree crash into her neighbor's house as the storm barreled through.
It sounded like some loud thunder.
Have you ever lived through anything like this?
Well, I lived through Katrina.
You're comparing this to Katrina?
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. We have no power, no water, nothing.
Tonight, the city of Dallas looks more like the Arctic tundra. In Boston, firefighter Lieutenant James Brooks says it's the worst he's seen in years.
Had a pretty good amount of calls and everything, a lot of different calls, water leaks, car accidents, medical calls. It's kind of chaotic.
Aaron McLaughlin, thank you. Let's get out to George Solis out in Nashville. George, what's the latest with the power grid out there?
Yeah, Gotti, the deep freeze is starting to settle in. The sun has set, so that concern of everything starting to refreeze, a big concern. Here in the Nashville area, the power outage ranks somewhere around the 155,000 range, which is somewhat better than what it was when we first started. But a lot of folks obviously cautious, optimistic about how long it might take for them to get back on the grid when these temperatures are this low. We have spent some time today with residents, Gotti, some of them who are finding creative ways to stay warm even without power. We talked to one family who was camping inside of their home. We talked to another who doesn't have a generator. The father telling me he underestimated this storm, so they have a mattress in their living room. The family's wearing as many layers as possible, and they're all huddled together for warmth. And of course, you've had a number of trees that have snapped under the weight of that ice. One narrowly missing a home. It's just an unprecedented sight for so many here in this region that aren't used to seeing these kinds of ice storms. And, you know, when we spoke to a lot of them today, a lot of them were just, you know, just really almost at a loss for words. Here's a little bit of my dialogue with a few of them.
Well, we've set up our tent in our living room. We have a small indoor propane heater that will go for 5 hours or so on a small can. And we've covered all the windows, and you can see we've covered the doors between the draftier parts of the house and this one, and we're just keeping a few rooms warm at a time.
So your home was spared from the tree, but it
Yes.
wasn't spared from these power outages. What's been going on there?
The power's been out since about 5:30, 6 a.m. yesterday, and luckily we have a gas fireplace and we have a gas stovetop, so that's great. Don't have a gas water heater, so going without a shower for a couple of days is not fun. But, you know, just staying in front of the fireplace and trying to stay warm.
Yeah, Gotti, and of course, not everyone has the luxury of any type of gas in their home. So the city has proactively opened a number of warming centers and shelters for people to go and to find a place to get warm. Because again, at this current state, there's no warming trend in sight, at least for the foreseeable future here in this region.
Wow. And George, the woman that set up the tent in the living room, I mean, it takes you a second to kind of work through how that helps. But is it basically they go to sleep in there and then traps the heat inside of the tent?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So she's a geologist, and she has done some work in Alaska. So basically, she has a 12 and 15-year-old boy, and she decided, you know what, let me try to make this fun and a learning experience for them. Granted, they know if these temperatures persist and they lose all their heat, they're going to have to find another place. But they are all in there with blankets. They are huddling together for warmth. It really is one of the most unique things I have seen in terms of people trying to beat the heat. But yeah, they know that may not be a long-term solution, but certainly a creative one, at least in the short term, Gotti.
Yeah, you learn something new every day, and hopefully you will never have to use it. George Solis out there in Nashville. George, thank you. And the impact of this storm is still far from over. Airlines are still recovering after thousands of flights were canceled over the last few days. Right now, it is a race to try to reposition planes and crews and get travelers moving again. And NBC's Tom Costello is tracking the latest. Tom?
Yeah, hey, Gotti, a rough day of travel today. Let's start with yesterday, because yesterday we had 11,000 flight cancellations. Now, that's the worst since the pandemic. Today, a better number. We had about 5,300 flight cancellations, 6,700 delays. Keeping in mind that will continue to build through the evening. We may not get a final count until sometime on Tuesday. As for Tuesday, we're already looking at about 300 flight cancellations as the airlines are really trying to recover from all of this. This was, as you know, just a massive storm impacting a huge section of the country, and many of those airports affected are the busiest in the country. Today, no surprise, Boston up in the Northeast, heavily impacted. For a time, nothing was going in, nothing going out. Come down to the New York City area, all three of the major airports there affected: LaGuardia, JFK, Newark. Come on down the I-95 corridor, Philadelphia. And then here at Reagan Airport, one of the most affected airports in the country, started out nothing moving when the day started. through the day. Finally, things got back up to speed very slowly as airlines started bringing planes back in again. Dulles Airport here in Washington fared better. They were able to recover a bit more quickly. But then you go further south, and boy, did we have the ice storm hitting all of these major hubs in the south, right? Charlotte and Atlanta and Dallas, all of them, of course, and all the airports in between dramatically affected, trying to dig out and chip out from the ice. So it is going to take a couple of days to actually get the entire system back up and running normally. The Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy, saying it could be sometime Wednesday night before things actually are back to normal. Here's the good news, though. This is the slowest travel period of the year. So if this had to happen on any given week, this was probably the best week for it to happen. Kids are back at school. Most people are done with vacations over the holidays. Slow season now for travel, and it will take most of the week, I think, before everybody is where they need to be on this very cold week. Just in time for a replay, God help us, this coming weekend. Gotti, back to you.
Yikes. Hopefully not. Tom Costello, thank you so much. And now to the next weather threat, more dangerous, potentially record-breaking cold, and this deep freeze could linger all week. Bill Cairns is tracking what's ahead. Hey there, Bill.
Well, Gotti, now that the huge storm is finally gone and everyone's digging out, and some areas did melt today, but now it's refreezing because the cold is just locked in, and it's not going anywhere east of the Rockies anytime soon. Even areas in the south are barely going to do any of the melting of whatever ice and snow is out there. So we have cold, extreme cold warnings all the way down to Houston, Lake Charles, New Orleans, Panama City, Pensacola. I mean, these are areas that don't see cold like this, especially for prolonged day after day. So as far as the wind chills go, we're in the single digits. We can handle that negative number in Chicago, but as we go through the night, any little breeze is going to make it feel really cold down along the Gulf Coast. And in the areas that do have that snow and ice on the ground, we have a chance for setting some record lows. Look how many spots in Texas, Brownsville, Corpus Christi, all potential tying or breaking record lows tomorrow morning. Little Rock's included in this, and a few spots here in the east, even Washington, D.C. too, with your fresh snowpack on the ground. And the thing that's really making the headlines with this cold outbreak is that it's here to stay. We may not get a break from this for maybe another week and a half in some cases. Look at the morning lows in Nashville, who was hit the hardest by the ice storm. 13 Wednesday, 14 Thursday, 13 Friday, and they'll be lucky to head up to 32 degrees even during the day with sun. Poor Chicago stuck single digits. New York City dropping into the single digits, and we're going to get a freeze all the way down into North Florida as we head towards the end of this week. And as we've been advertising, no relief. I mean, everyone pretty much east of the Mississippi River, this is the forecast for next week. Well below average temperatures, while we continue the complete opposite on areas of the west, where it continues to be warm and very dry, and now we're getting concerned about the snowpack being low, no sign of any moisture there at all. And at least that's good news for all the areas that were just hit really hard. It does not look like most people have a chance for any additional ice or snow as we go throughout the next 5 to 10 days. The exception being right along the East Coast. So this is going to be Saturday, Sunday. It is looking likely we're going to get the development of a strong coastal storm, maybe a nor'easter type storm. Now, the million-dollar question is, how far off the coast will it be? Will it be close enough to bring snow, this would be Saturday, into areas that don't typically get snow, like Savannah, Charleston, Myrtle Beach, all through eastern North Carolina? And then will it move up the coast or offshore, or maybe just kind of skirt right along the coast? The European computer model is just off the coast, missing I-95, maybe a little bit of snow in areas of Cape Cod. This is going to change numerous times. We're still 5 days away from this event. So our computer models are already kind of waffling. All we know for sure, and this is our American computer model, is that we're going to have a powerful storm. And if it's near the coast, it's a really big deal and likely a nor'easter type blizzard type storm. If it's like this and far off the coast, all the wind and all the rain and all the snow is off the coast, and we're just fine on the eastern seaboard. So we'll watch that closely in the days ahead, Gotti.
We sure will. Bill Cairns, thank you so much. And coming up, the former Olympian turned top 10 most wanted fugitive pleading not guilty to the attempted murder and drug trafficking charges against him, where Ryan Wedding's case goes next. Plus, the purge of a top Chinese general throwing the Chinese military into turmoil and raising questions about the future of Taiwan.
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Yeah, long A block. Thanks for the extra question, Lisa, for Jim. Freezing. Feels cruel to be in California. Yeah, it totally does, Tina. It does feel cruel to be here. I wore a jacket for 75-degree weather. Hello from Valley Stream, New York. Man, I'm sorry about how cold it is up there. We have a 50-50 chance of being correct. Trump said. I mean, I guess, yeah. Let's see. Mother Nature can dump monkey beasts. You are a beast. And then, let's see. Oh, you need me in that. You know, look, we love all perspectives here. I will ask that we all try to respect each other's perspectives and be nice and cordial. But yeah, feel free to weigh in on what's happening around the world. All perspectives are welcome, including ones that hate the mainstream media. I totally get that too. Here we go. But we are trying to do the best we can in reporting all the facts that we can confirm.
About 20.
And give you the most news across the world. So here come some headlines, and then we'll talk at the next commercial break, hopefully.
About
10 seconds. Hey, welcome back. Here are some other headlines that we are watching tonight. At least 15 people were killed when this ferry sank in the Philippines. Coast Guard officials there say the boat was cleared before sailing off, but it started to have technical problems. Rescuers jumped to action to save more than 300 people aboard, and officials are still investigating what went wrong. And Israel says the remains of the last hostage held in Gaza have been found. Israeli Defense Forces say 24-year-old police officer Ran Galvini was identified. Galvini, he was killed during the attack on October 7th, 2023. This now paves the way for the second phase of a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. And at least 6 people were killed after a small jet crashed in Maine. The FAA says the business jet left Bangor Airport at around 7:30 last night. It burst into flames during takeoff. Now, there are some conflicting reports about how many people died. The FAA is saying 7 people are confirmed dead, but airport officials say there were 6 passengers on board and 6 fatalities in total. The investigation is still ongoing. And the former Olympic snowboarder accused of being a drug kingpin appeared in a California courtroom today. Ryan Wedding pleaded not guilty to 17 criminal counts and 2 indictments. He's accused of shipping hundreds of pounds of cocaine from Colombia through Mexico and into the U.S. and Canada. Wedding was on the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitive list with a $15 million reward for his arrest. And the matchup is set for Super Bowl 60 with the New England Patriots and the Seattle Seahawks facing off on football's biggest stage. Both teams are going to be trading snow for a little more warmth, with the game set February 8th right here in sunny California. And out in China, there was this dramatic purge of some of the top military leaders in the country. We're now under investigation, and all of it is raising questions on the future of Taiwan. NBC News' Janice Mackey-Frayer has the latest.
This is an upheaval at the top of China's military power structure, a general second in command only to China's President Xi Jinping. Defense Ministry officials confirmed that Zhang Youxia, vice chairman of the Central Military Commission, which controls all of China's armed forces, is under investigation and accused of, quote, grave violations of discipline and the law. Another general, Liu Jianli, has also been put under investigation. Now, the statement gave no details on the allegations or possible charges they face, while the Ministry of Foreign Affairs here said they were not familiar with the matter. Zhang's biography page on the government's website has been pulled down. Now, this isn't the first scandal for China's military. An anti-corruption campaign under Xi has thinned the ranks of ministers and other officials to shore up loyalty. But the downfall of officers at the highest level is seen as the most significant yet. Zhang Youxia has long been a Xi ally. He's a childhood friend, a confidant. And it all but clears out Xi's circle of military decision makers. Of the 6 generals that Xi appointed to the commission in 2022, only 1 is left. And what this house cleaning could mean for China's forces, nuclear arsenal, Taiwan, and competition with the U.S. is getting a lot of attention, but the politics at play are incredibly opaque. Some analysts feel the time it's going to take for Xi to rebuild these high levels of command may lower the likelihood the PLA would be ordered to carry out any near-term move on Taiwan. Officials in Taipei say they're watching and they think these military changes are abnormal. Xi has made no secret of his intentions to unify Taiwan with the mainland, and he stated 2027 as his goal for military readiness. Just last week, the Trump administration released its national defense strategy that takes a softer tone on China and makes no mention of Taiwan. So with the widening purge of China's PLA officials, military power has now been consolidated under Xi, giving him sole control over the armed forces here and complete authority.
Janice Mackey-Frayer, thank you so much. And coming up, new defense tactics for law enforcement that keeps both them and the suspect safe? Maybe. We've got the details coming up next.
All right, 3 minutes.
3 minutes, okay. Lise, how are we on time?
We're good on time because we made it. We're fine.
Okay, and then for this next law enforcement analyst?
3.5 minutes there.
Okay, got it. Okay, perfect. And then we got, what, 2 minutes, 3 minutes to talk right now? Okay, 2.5. All right, what do you guys want to talk about? Doreen, hey, good to see you, Doreen. Great to see you. The truth isn't chill, it's raw. I totally 100% agree with you there. Let's see, Chic, oh. Yeah, no, I'm always thinking we should be cordial. It's not just then, it's always. That's how we should just, live on the same planet together. Let's see, wait to see you. Oh, thanks. Hey, what's up, Hunter Burke? Let's see. Dude, Pluto, that is the question of the century. I don't know. I'm not sure if that's gonna happen. But I am excited about that movie. I don't know if you guys have seen the previews, but it's written by the guy that wrote The Martian. Anybody out there seeing that?
Wait, are you talking about Hail Mary?
Yeah.
The book is so good.
Wait, you read the book?
I read the book. I did.
When did you read
I
the
love
book?
Andy Weir. He's a great author. I read his book a little while ago.
Yeah, it's my favorite. Yeah, it's my favorite sci-fi book currently. Let's see. Appreciate you all. Yes, we definitely will. Appreciate you reading between the lines, picking fact from fiction. Appreciate that as well. And we will do our best to, try to give you everything that we know. And we work our butts off all day long to try to gather all these different stories. I know that most people, they have one story or two stories that they feel very, very strongly on, and that's totally understandable, but there is a lot that happens all across the world, so it's hard to keep your eyes on all the different plates that are being juggled, but we will try to continue to keep doing that. And then I saw a comment a little bit earlier. Hey, Lisa, did you see that? I think it was from Tina about gold and silver prices. Dude, another winner. We should totally do that story.
30.
Dun, dun, dun. Oh, thanks. El Gold? All right. So, yeah, it's a little bit different. You can watch the actual, clean version on TV anywhere you stream, anywhere, like Samsung, Roku, all that stuff. But this is kind of the behind the scenes meets the polished show. So you'll see both here. 5 seconds. We got to go. Hey, welcome back. As controversy grows over viral moments showing federal officers using force to take people into custody, there are a lot of questions right now over exactly what ICE and what DHS policy says when it comes to things like disarming a subject who may be lawfully carrying a gun, or whether they are allowed to use things like chokeholds or chemical agents at point-blank range. And as it stands right now, the most recent use of force policy was updated back in 2023. That is notable because it was under the Biden administration and it was an executive order. It generally prohibits the use of chokeholds and corduroy restraints except when the use of deadly force is authorized by law. It also sets up strict guidelines on deploying less than lethal force, but But is DHS committed to following those policies that, again, you know, a lot of them date back to that executive order under President Joe Biden at the time? It seems to be one of the questions at the moment. So joining us now is Mark Brown. He is a former police officer who is an instructor at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center. So, Mark, a part of what you teach is exactly what we've been talking about. It's the safest way to try to disarm somebody, take somebody into custody. Look, you know, with the whole conversation, we have seen the pendulum swinging very dramatically over the years here, especially in the wake of the George Floyd case. But can you just level set with us here? Based on what you've seen recently, does it seem like we're taking a break from what was put into policy in the prior administration?
It seems like it's not been consistent with the training that we delivered while I was employed by FLETC down in Brunswick, Georgia. As a matter of fact, when the George Floyd incident happened, we revamped the multiple officer arrest completely to eliminate any sort of carotid restraint and also to eliminate like having the situation where officers tend to pile on and have a bunch of weight on the back. So we really revamped how multiple officers conduct an arrest. And what I'm seeing doesn't appear to be consistent with what we actually showed.
And we're showing some of the videos here. I mean, this one doesn't show any of those carotid restraints, but it does show kind of that pile up that we sometimes see when having to arrest a non-compliant suspect in other cases. But if you have a person that you're lawfully trying to detain and they lawfully have a gun, how is that supposed to go?
Well, you know, it varies state to state. If they have a weapon and you're trying to detain or arrest them, the biggest thing, first things first, is if you get a chance, you can secure the weapon. But if the biggest thing is occupying their hands, a weapon in a waistband is a concern, absolutely, for a law enforcement officer. A weapon in someone's hands is a problem. That's a threat. So as long as their hands are occupied, and then you can get and you can handcuff them or you have a chance to secure the weapon, then I think you're in a much better spot as opposed to you know, trying to secure the weapon then handcuff them. You really want to be able to control the hands. That's the main thing. That's one of the main principles taught when you're doing defensive tactics, especially when you're making arrests. You know, having control of the hands. That's one of the things we emphasize in multiple officer is isolating limbs away from the body.
Mm-hmm. And beyond the videos that we're seeing here, we are seeing some other videos of things like chokeholds that are being used. Where does the current policy stand with chokeholds right now?
When I was employed there, it was always during, especially after George Floyd, it was only something that was to be used during in the event of deadly force, but that's not something at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Centers that was trained. Like, I never taught any of my classes how to perform any sort of carotid restraint or any sort of vascular restraint.
Mark Brown, we really appreciate your insight into all of this, and this conversation is going to continue. Actually, we're going to continue it tomorrow. We're going to take a very hands-on look at this jujitsu alternative that is being used by some local departments. They're saying it puts emphasis on de-escalation and protecting an airway. We're going to try out the old-fashioned dogpile takedown way versus this thing called safe wrap, and we're going to show you how it's being used so far. That's coming up tomorrow on Stay Tuned Now, so stay tuned for that. And still to come, what's wrong with TikTok? Why tons of users are complaining the app is broken days after a deal was announced to keep the app alive here in the United States.
2 minutes. See you reverse.
All right. Yeah, it hurt. That hurt. Lisa, it was not fun. It was not fun. Lisa's laughing because I got
I'm watching because his face is so...
I got freaking smoked. Guys, tomorrow you will see me get my ass kicked on TV. It's just...
I'm so excited.
It hurt really bad. So for the people that are in here being like, I hate this guy, tune in tomorrow because I get my ass kicked. But it is a really, really interesting technique that they're trying out in a place at Bellevue, Washington. We're going to look at how it's being implemented there. So it's the, like the old-fashioned dog pile, like the analyst was just talking about, and then we've got this technique that was just invented that kind of uses like your own arm and your own legs, and you get tied up in a pretzel. And it was developed when some California hospitals were like, hey, is there a way to restrain a patient that may be having a mental health episode, but we don't want to hurt them, we don't want to use any chokeholds, we don't want to put pressure on their airways. So it's going to be really interesting to watch that tomorrow. Yeah, Reed, it was not fun. Yeah. Covering TikTok, yeah, that's right. The best. Yes. Aw. Every time I look over here, Trump, you're just being so nice. Trump said 3550. I'm just not going to look
30.
Back at what else you said. Let's see. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, that's true. Would be tough to do in the snow, but you'll have to check tomorrow. Okay.
15.
I think it'd be hard to do the dog pile in the snow. Okay. Now we've got TikTok coming up right now.
4, 3.
Hey, welcome back. Over the weekend, some TikTok users say their anti-ICE videos were being censored, but TikTok seems to be blaming any technical problems with posting on this power outage at a U.S. data center. NBC's Savannah Sellers reports.
I'm really at the point of deleting this app.
TikTok is censoring us. Let me show you the censorship. Let me just show you.
Tonight, some TikTokers threatening to stop the scroll.
We are posting factual, political information, and they are censoring our content.
Alleging the app is suppressing videos about the fatal shootings in Minneapolis.
TikTok USA is broken.
Aaron Parnas, a political content creator, showing one video he posted that appeared to receive more than 200 comments, but listed 0 views.
Couldn't post, couldn't see it.
Democratic Senator Chris Murphy also among those calling out the app. Singer Billie Eilish, too.
I find it very interesting that this is the video that is going to get blocked.
But the issues appeared to extend beyond videos about ICE. People flooding social media complaining about everything from problems with the main For You page and commenting to complications editing and posting. The company blaming disruptions on a power outage, writing, "We're working with our data center partner to stabilize our service." NBC News reached out to TikTok about specific allegations of censorship, and the company said all issues stemmed from the outage.
It looks like we have to rebuild our FYPs.
But it all comes just days after the U.S. and China reached a deal passing control of TikTok's U.S. operations to a group of investors backed by President Trump.
It's a lot of things happening all at once. We don't have any insight into how they're changing or moving or adjusting. Could be bad timing, could be by design. We really don't know.
But many users remain skeptical.
I am deleting all of my videos from TikTok.
A rocky start as TikTok enters a new U.S. chapter with millions watching. Savannah Sellers, NBC News.
And Savannah, thank you. And before we go, it is time for the future of everything. And tonight, the very human-like way a robot is teaching itself how to sing. We're going to explain there. But first, you got to see this. Rock climber Alex Honnold, he made history climbing Taipei 101, one of the world's largest skyscrapers with no ropes, no harness, no safety net. A nearly 2,000-foot climb took a little over an hour. It was streamed on Netflix. While Alex said he's happy to get to the top and it was incredible, maybe, I don't know, try something in New York next? We'll be right back.
Claire, how do you get down?
All right. Huh?
How do you get down from there?
How do you get down? The elevator, probably. Okay, and finally tonight, we are taking a look at how one humanoid robot learned. That's pretty much the show for us. Did you watch, hey, Doreen, did you see the part where he puts his foot in there and then he just goes no hands? That was crazy. Also, dude is so ripped. Did you also see the part where he has, he's right next to the window and then his six-pack is just in everybody's face and everyone's just going crazy? That was pretty crazy as well. Let's see. All right, so Lisa, we're good, right? Rest of the show's in the knock?
We're good. We're clear. We're clear.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Have a good, have a very safe commute home. Sorry about all the snow. All right. Tina, that's a really interesting thought. But yeah, okay. So we're going to try to look into doing the gold thing. Guys, also, for all of our OG loyal homies, I don't know if we're going to be able to do this while I'm at the Olympics. We've been trying to crunch some of the numbers. So Tuesday, tomorrow night, might be the last night we're able to do the live stream for some time. And then after that, I'm going to Cortina, and we're going to be hosted by a couple of different people. So yeah, we'll see about what happens to the live stream. But I promise you, when I get back, hopefully this thing is just off to the races forever. So buying Costco gold? Wait, they have gold at Costco? I gotta look into that. All right. Wow, just show you had 0 viewers? I don't think that's the case. But hi, Susanna. All right, see you guys. See you tomorrow.